Next item, the proposed 2024 budget. Capital Projects Fund. Motion to present for public inspection the proposed 2024 Capital Projects Funds budgets of estimated expenditures totaling $4,452,584 and make the budget available for public inspection in the office of the County Commissioners, Harvey County Administration Building, Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, between the hours of 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. until December 13th, 2023. Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
No.
Mr. Notstein?
Question. I know the one budget transfer comes out of the parking fund, and I don't know if that's the reason why, but I think we have to move along with the budget cycle. And the reason I don't work is have to keep moving, but I'm more confident everyone here or warn everyone here that this could, in the future, this transfer could be rejected by this board for the future for the commission to transfer that funds into the capital projects.
Next item.
I'll see.
Any further business?
Yeah, just on the further business, I know the budget we had 3 weeks ago, with no tax increase, and again point out the increase in costs of county that we approved today, with the development billing for the children and youth alone. The increases, there were 23 different contracts. There was only one with no increase. There were several that were with less than $10, and some of those were per hour, some were per year. But all the per diem or per evaluations, we point out this one here in the diagnostic evaluation is an increase of $122. The total cost is $23.24. Contract is $3,177. There are numerous other ones that are over 50, between 54, 60, and $90, and some sense about 10 of those that are increasing by over that amount. So for each one of these cases, it's a it's a huge increase. I don't have the numbers how many times these different facilities and services are used by our children and youth, but we just won't keep spending down our fund balance, which is again getting dangerously low. That's why I opposed to transfer the fund out of the parking fund. It's one of the few funds that we have had much left at the end of the year. And I really just asked on the Q4 work how they plan on addressing that issue for next year. How are you going to make up those funds that we're losing in the budget, the deficit? You're looking at another $652,000 for salaries alone and all the other issues that we have been passing over the months for increased fees. So I'm going to have the question again, and I asked before, what would you do for next year's budget? How do you plan to make that question?
I can comment on that. One of the things, even like with this, what we transferred over, I think we had a discussion about it, and I didn't even want to put the 4.5 million because I think that gives us a cushion to have change orders and spend more money on change orders. And we have to start curbing this spending that we do and give it to the employees. I mean, the more money that we put in here, the more can go to the change orders. And I think the less money that we have in there, we're going to make rational decisions on doing that. And we've been working on raises for people for how many years and haven't really given them nothing decent. Now we're starting to have something that we can. So now we have a contingency for raises that's in there. And I think we all know the amount what we get to do. There's contracts coming up that we have to negotiate, but I feel that we can give people a pretty decent raise. And that in that capital fund has nothing to do with what we're giving the people in the raise. That's on projects that we have. And every time, and I understand this from the parking, and I think the parking fund, I okayed this because I think we have to have the budget moving on. But this next session where the three commissioners are gonna be together, we are start clamping down on this money and giving it to our employees. And I'm tired of the excuses that we don't have money for them and all this other stuff, but we keep giving in contingency away to companies. And we don't take care of our own people. And that's where I wanted at this. This is where the crossroad is, where we're gonna stop spending money. If we take even out of that money, and I know Chris, I know out of that budget and he doesn't want that out of there, and I understand that too, because it would get wasted. My thing with the parking fund, if it comes down to a certain amount of money or what we have up, if we have $1 million in it, then that's there. And I propose there's grants out there that you could get through the state that we might only have to pay maybe 20% of a bonus for people at the end of the year between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Wouldn't it be nice to give everybody a $500 bonus between Christmas and New Year? And all we have to do is pay 20% of it. We got to start using our money right here instead of just raising taxes all the time and putting it in the bank, and then it's in there for 5 years or 4 years, and you use it for whatever you want. And it continues that the salaries of the people are not being addressed. When were the salaries ever addressed to the people like it is now? There's people in these departments that were getting $1.16 through the studies, getting $3 an hour, 80 cents an hour where they would only got 38 cents. Now's the time to start curbing it. And I'm not raising taxes to put it in the bank. I don't want your money, the taxpayers, until I need it. And that's a crime that will be, it's going to be in our bank account and not yours when you need it. Everybody comes out here and they say, well, the food costs too much. This costs too much. Why are we taking, if it's whatever's proposed, a lot of times it's 40-some%. Why are we taking 40% of the people's money when we need it? We don't need it now. We might need it in 4 years from now. You know, everybody always talks about let's raise taxes a little bit, but here we're going to present it and we want to have a big chunk of money this coming year that's going to last us for 4 years. I can't see that. Why do you do that? Why do you take money from the taxpayer for 4 years from now? And we got to address every year what's happening. And you're not gonna curb the taxes if you sit here and just raise it. That's what's happened in Carbon County for years. You raise the taxes every 4 years and then you do whatever you want with it. Put it in what you need, and then it's gonna curb this spending. It's gonna curb the spending. We're not gonna overspend. And we're entering into a project over here that we have some issues already with. And I'm not gonna put more money into it to give to somebody else. I value our employees too much that they should have the salary. You know, I sit here and in fact, we're talking about healthcare. I'm the one. I'm not putting anybody's healthcare up, their healthcare. For what we pay them, that should not even be in a discussion. But we sit here and just say, okay, what are we going to raise the taxes? So my question is, I know what I want to do this coming year. What do you want to do this coming year, Mr. Notstein, with an additional $2 million? Because there is money in there for their salaries.
I want to see a balanced budget. We have not had that. The fund balance has been spent down. We're at the danger zone where you're going to have to do something next year, or you're not going to meet your expenses. That's the issue here. It has nothing to do with the capital fund. That money has been committed with, and all you did was roll that expenditure from this year to next year. That doesn't change. We have signed contracts. We're just playing the numbers game here.
And it goes back to it again.
Excuse me, I am talking right now.
Keep going.
It's not a balanced budget. You are spending way over what your revenues are, and you're taking the fund balances down to nothing. That's the problem. And that's going to happen definitely next year. You're not going to have that $4 or $5 million to spend to pay those salaries because you don't want to do anything. I agree with that. But unless you do something, you're not going to have the money to pay these people. That's the problem.
And I could bring it up about the salaries. We probably have 40 on the complement, 40 jobs on the complements that have not been filled since I've been here. Why is that not money That to me is padding the budget. And I mean, you have to have a little bit of a cushion for each department, but 40, you imagine how much money that we could get, even if it's 25 cents to each employee or 50 cents to each employee. That's where we're gonna claw back to give these people the salaries that they need. And that's what I'm going at. We have to start looking at this budget, not just say, okay, we're gonna raise taxes. That's not a good enough reason. We have to look at every one of these budgets. And instead of each one of them is in there, we talk about, oh, healthcare costs this much, the salaries cost this much. Take 40 times, say even $50,000 a year, add it up, see how much money is in there. And we could probably only keep a quarter of that, half of that, and give that to the employees. I think it's time we start looking actually at the budget and what we need and not what we want.
That funding that is in there for those vacant positions rolls over, to be budgeted and not used. Now, you telling me our children and youth don't need more case workers?
You're bringing up another issue again. Children and youth, we pay.
Salaries and personnel.
Okay, let me educate everybody on how children and youth work. Carbon County pays 20% of their salaries. We could actually give children and youth more money than we are, and that was never done over the years. And you know what I said, when Chris and I came in, the salaries were really low. And look at what the salaries, even the minimum is up to now. And he always brings it up about children and youth. We're trying to get people in there, and within their budget, that comes from the state. I mean, it shows that it's in there for us, but we pay 20% of it. So on every 20 cents, we can actually give them more money than all the other employees because we're only paying. And that's the thing about it. Why doesn't the state give us 20% on everybody's salaries? No, it's like that with aging, just like with aging. The other, I think last week we had a thing where we had to take loan aging. I think it was, I don't know what it was, Jeff. Was it $118,000? Because the state did not send us our money.
160.
Yeah. So like, that's what we deal with. You know, we're raising taxes here, and the ones that give us our money, we're covering for them. Why is everybody always coming after the local official? When they don't give us our money, that affects the taxpayer. But we're the ones that are crucified for that all along. And you know what? I think now we have to start. And even like you were talking about this 911 tax. They're against the 911 tax, which is one of those things where it's coming out of everybody that uses a phone. Like everybody goes, well, why do I have to pay this? Why do the renters not have to pay, a certain tax? But right here's a tax that they don't want to pass or up it. And the people that are only use a phone are taxed on that. If you don't have a phone, you don't get taxed. Right there's a very simple thing. If you want the phone, then and that's going to hurt the town on 911. And that's their discussion at the state. They want to keep it at the same rate and not raise it. And then it gets thrown back to us again. I think it's time that we start looking at the budget and say, you know what, we can't do it because you know what, we're not getting our money from the state. So we have to have a fund bank for things that we don't get from the state. We have to dip into that for that all the time. Why is that? When I think if you go out and you make a car payment, if you miss your car payment, isn't the bank going to come after you? So who's going to go after the state when we don't get our money? Nobody. They should take a little bit more responsibility for what they're doing, and then it would be easy for the taxpayer on their dollars that they're giving. But there's all different avenues. We have so many budgets that dip into that are to work on, that we have to work on, and just don't blame it on one like children and youth. And children and youth has gone light years since I've been in. They have a new building that hasn't really cost them much any money. They have space. And I think last week, I think we are on the edge of hiring 3 people. And again, I wanted to get out of this civil service thing, which we could, that we could hire people. You take a civil service test and it doesn't have anything to do with the job that you're doing, and you flunk, we can't hire you. All that stuff that's going through here, we still do paper and pencil with our payroll. Like we're light years behind here. We could do things that save the taxpayers money. And right now, and I'm hoping, Mike's here, and I hope Mike, you hear me. We got to start clamping down on this And I mean, I wanna work with you as much as you can, and even with Wayne. We have to start taking a little bit of grip on the taxpayers' money, because pretty soon they're gonna run out of money, and then we're gonna chase them out of town. You know, there's a lot of these programs that I see that are on, behind wants to do the LERTA program. Okay, who's gonna pay for it? You're gonna give money back to big business, and who's gonna cover that money that they need? Not them, it's gonna go back to the regular taxpayers. So I think we have to be a little bit more involved in the entire county on the tax system, how this is going. Because they're pushing, some of these are pushing for the LERTA program, they wanna do all this other stuff. And it's like, right here is where we can stop it. We're the highest official in the county, you know, not our legislators, not our senators. Right here are the highest officials in the county, these 3 seats. And I think it's time that we start looking at the budget, and I don't deny anybody. If somebody comes in here, I mean, even like with Kale, I didn't know if you knew it, but your retrievers are here. Okay, we're taking care of that. We're doing things like that. We're trying to help every department out. And we don't have to do it with raising taxes like it is all the time. It's too much. And I go back to it again. Why is Carbon County on a cycle that we raise taxes every 4 years and just use it for what we want? And like I said, I go back to it again. Our employees are very important to us. And if we don't have their services, then our public people are gonna suffer from it. And I think things are going pretty good now. I think children and youth, you know, we're doing this project to try to get people a little bit more space. And I think it's moving forward and I don't think this raising taxes is the answer. It's not. It's curbing the spending and give the opposites what they need. That's the bottom line.
It had not been for the boards raising the taxes, you would not have the funds to spend as you did the last 4 years, and you would be in that situation now. That was my mistake for taking the heat and raising the taxes to provide those services. And you spend down that fund balance, when we would have had the funds to do a lot of these projects.
And I go back to it again, the children and youth. Nobody ever put in for things like the construction or anything like, I don't think a lot like that before. And I told Jill, even like with the aging, in the aging, there was a van, there was transportation. Nobody ever told them that they could buy the van. Today they have the van. And it didn't raise taxes for people. Children and youth put in for, I think we spent $3.1 million on the building down there, and we're gonna almost get 3 million, like 2.7 or whatever back. That she put in the budget and the state approved it for us to get it. There's ways to get other money here instead of dipping into the taxpayers' bank account. A lot of different ways.
Name it, I'm on now. Yes. Commissioners report, Mr. Honor.